Our next item is item number 12. This is a public hearing on supplemental appropriation 2473 to the FY24 operating budget, Montgomery County Government, Department of Health and Human Services, MoCo Pride Center, Inc., in the amount of $200,000. The source of funds is general fund undesignated reserves. And an amendment to the FY24 operating budget resolution 2184, section G, FY24, designation of entities for non-competitive contract award status, MoCo Pride Center, Inc., in the same amount of $200,000. A joint Health and Human Services and Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee work session is scheduled currently for April 29th, 2024. Those wishing to submit material for the Council's consideration should do so by the close of business on April 22nd, 2024. Each registered speaker has 3 minutes to speak. You'll hear a tone when your time is up. We appreciate you abiding by the allotted time. Call up Lee Blinder, Philip Alexander Downey, Makeda Richardson, Marshall Friedman. Want to join us at the table? We'll go in the order that I called the names. Lee, when you are ready, hit your button, and you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, esteemed council and our guests. My name is Lee Blinder. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm an openly transgender, non-binary, and queer person. I'm extremely proud to share that I grew up in Montgomery County. I'm a graduate of MCPS. Somehow that was 24 years ago, and I'm an alumni of Montgomery College. I'm here today in my capacity as the executive director and founder of Trans Maryland. We are a multiracial, multigender, community power building organization for Maryland's trans community. Trans Maryland was birthed 6 years ago in Montgomery County due to my own lack of access to gender-affirming care and resources. In addition, I co-founded Queer MoCo. I'm a founding member of the county's LGBTQ advisory board. I'm a co-founder of Trans Maryland's Maryland Trans Resilience Conference, which was held at the Silver Spring Civic Center in 2022. I was a lead consultant on the county's 2023 LGBTQ+ survey report, which you all have. I'm a lead author of the Maryland Trans Survey, which I'm thrilled to announce has just launched our initial findings report. I can share with you all, it's on our website. And I'm now the chair of the Maryland Commission on LGBTQI+ Affairs. These positions that I hold are almost all exclusively uncompensated or offer a minimal stipend for the work. This is alarming as my community is facing an unprecedented level of threats to our existence, our healthcare, our safety, our well-being, and our sanity. In addition to the current needs, we in Montgomery County are also facing a sharp influx of new residents and their families who are seeking safe harbor from anti-trans legislation and policies across the United States. It is really heartbreaking to speak today about the myriad of threats that transgender people are facing in our society. I prefer to uplift my community when speaking about transgender people and talk about the joy that living as one's full self can impart. However, I'm here today to illuminate the need that being myself to illuminate the need and to implore you to ensure that this life-saving work is written into the budget beyond just the supplemental so that our vital work can continue. I've often been the first call that people make in Montgomery County when a young person who is transgender or queer is kicked out of their house from an unaffirming situation. I'm not paid by the county to be a 24/7 youth crisis housing responder. However, it is part of my uncompensated duties because I am very dedicated to our young trans and queer people. Montgomery County and Trans Maryland, as a part of the MoCo Pride family, are ready to provide the many resources that we possess and our unique skill set to excel. So please consider this proposal, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Philip Alexander Downey.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, esteemed council members. Thank you for having me. My name is Philip Alexander Downey, he, him pronouns. I'm a queer, lifelongish resident of Montgomery County and the CEO of the MoCo Pride Center, Montgomery County Pride Family. We are the consortium of LGBTQIA+ service, advocacy, and arts and culture organizations and programs in Montgomery County, which include Living Your Truth, Trans Maryland, MoCo Pride Prom, Montgomery County Pride in the Plaza, Drag Story Hour DMV, Maryland Trans Unity, and the Coalition for Inclusive Schools and Communities. When I was here last week, I spoke about the need to fund programs that reach our most underserved, marginalized, and disenfranchised communities. And today I'm here in support of this supplemental appropriation. Today I wanted to focus specifically on the great work we do and how our services are a public good, but at our board meeting last night, I was once again struck with undeniable facts that this is a real and present emergency. Threats of violence persist and are extreme towards programs like Drag Story Hour, a family-friendly, culturally competent, multilingual literacy program, is marred with frequent bomb threats, so much so that the FBI is now involved. When bomb-sniffing dogs must come to programs and they're cleared out, its audience is further subjected to angry mobs of hate groups screaming obscenities and homophobic slurs at children and families. This is a perfect example in a sea of reasons why dedicated programming in an LGBTQ resource center is needed. Some venues discontinue their relationship with our programs after they receive threats. The owners of Loyalty bookstores in Silver Spring receive death threats and bomb threats to their business as well as their personal residence. Our relationship continues, but no person or entity should have to be resilient in the face of death threats and violence. This funding will be the first step to ensure that we can continue to safely serve our vast communities with complex needs. This would be the first round of funding we receive from the Montgomery County government. Prior to this year, I donated my salary to ensure the continuation of these vital programs. But that model is not equitable nor sustainable. We're calling on you as the County Council to provide the supplemental funding in addition to sustainable future funding to ensure access to a totality of crucial wellness resources as we bridge the gap to basic necessities. For these reasons and more, 50+ faith community leaders are urging you to support this request in full via a letter you have received or will receive from Pastor Willett Green. Additionally, I'm here to speak for those with voices whose voices can no longer be heard, like my fraternity brother, a black trans man and Silver Spring native whose death is a glaring reminder that this is indeed a life or death situation for some of our most vulnerable community members. I look forward to the work we do together to mitigate these created problems and ensure our most vulnerable communities have culturally competent, vital wellness programs and affirming safe spaces. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I did want to confirm that we have received the correspondence from Pastor Will Ed Green. We wish him well. He was registered to speak today but wasn't able to do so, but that is included in the record. So colleagues do have that. Just wanted to confirm that. Our next speaker, Makeda Richardson.
Esteemed members of the City Council, thank you for opening up this space for me to join you all today. My name is Makeda Richardson, she, her. I am a 17-year resident of Montgomery County, Maryland, and a two-spirited bisexual Black and Native American woman. I stand before you today as not only a small business owner in Montgomery County, a DEIB practitioner and mother, but a steadfast advocate for equity, equality, and inclusivity with an urgent plea on behalf of our LGBTQ+ community in our county. Our community is facing unprecedented challenges that demand our immediate action. In our diverse community, the importance of creating inclusive spaces for Black and LGBTQ+ individuals cannot be overstated. As hate groups surge and legislative threats loom large, our community finds itself in a climate of hostility unlike any we've ever seen before. The need for support and protection has never been more critical. As a business owner, I have seen firsthand the positive impact of fostering an environment where everyone feels seen, welcomed, valued, and heard. When we embrace diversity and celebrate our differences and provide access to much-needed resources to much-needed communities, we create stronger and more vibrant communities where all individuals can thrive. As a DEI practitioner, I recognize that creating inclusive spaces is not enough. We must also actively advocate for the rights and well-being of marginalized communities, including the LGBTQ+ community. Queer advocacy is not just a matter of principle. It is a fundamental duty that we owe all members of our society. As a mother, I understand, acknowledge, and appreciate that our current progress is the result of sacrifices made by individuals from diverse backgrounds, striving to build a fair world for all of us. I embrace the responsibility to carry forward this work for future generations, advocating not only for my children and grandchildren, but also for all marginalized and neglected communities. The support programs and services that comprise the Montgomery County Pride family, Montgomery County Pride Center, Inc., have long served as a beacon of hope and resilience for the LGBTQ+ individuals across the county. And the challenges we now face threatens to undermine the very foundation of the vital services we provide. Today, I am proud to be here with you on the land of the Piscataway people, imploring you to approve supplemental appropriation to support the Montgomery County Pride family, Montgomery County Pride Center, Incorporated, in its efforts to serve our most vulnerable communities. With this funding, we can continue our efforts to provide much-needed and accessible services while we strategically plan for a just and sustainable future for all LGBTQ+ individuals.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Marshall Friedman.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Marshall Friedman. I'm a 9th grade student at Poolsville High School, and I'm here today in support of supplemental appropriation. I wanted to talk to you today about why the Montgomery County Council must provide sustainable funding to organizations dedicated to fighting for the rights of some of our community's most marginalized individuals. Specifically, I asked the council to recognize the critical role the MoCo Center and Pride family play in supporting queer people in this county. In my own life, from the day I came out and even today, I face discrimination inside and outside of our public schools. Students are taught to accept and ignore normalized biases against queer people. I felt scared and isolated myself. As I've started my journey into advocacy, especially for the continuation of LGBTQ representation in MCPS, it is easy for this battle to feel like an uphill one against even people I know. This is why I cannot understate how the MoCo Pride Resource Center is so important for student advocates like myself who are dedicated to ensuring it's a support system for LGBTQ people of all ages. That support, as well as the resources that our Pride Center is committed to providing, is essential in nurturing cultural competency for LGBTQ people, as well as our queer youth. For queer and trans individuals, students especially, we face discrimination both in and out of the classroom, just for wanting to be comfortable in our own skin. The lawsuit against MCPS a few months ago over books of queer characters in schools is just one example of the continued homophobia normalized, justified, and disguised in our community. For the students and individuals who yet, in spite of this, continue the call for the support LGBTQ individuals deserve and need, we must meet their needs through the simple yet transformative tool the MoCo Pride Center provides. With opportunities for people of all ages and backgrounds to advocate for themselves, the Pride Center creates accessibility for challenges that go widely undiscussed. Moreover, their dedication to intersectionality and uplifting all Montgomery County residents highlights their broader impact beyond building inclusive spaces. Places dedicated to the safety of queer people uplift, especially for trans teenagers who face an increased risk of homelessness, housing inequality, and food insecurity. We are in a tumultuous election year, with a former president who wants to put an end to gender-affirming care for minors and who withdrew all federal protections for trans students in 2017, I cannot overstate how this is the time, now more than ever, to provide sustainable funding to the MoCo Pride Center. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. That is all for this panel. Thank you for your testimony. We're going to call up Ezra Town, Douglas Hill, Reverend Dr. Jill McCrory, Oju Ajagbe, as we don't want the monitor to block you. As soon as you're ready, you have 3 minutes.
President Friedson, Vice President Stewart, and esteemed members of the Montgomery County Council. My name is Ezra Town, and my pronouns are they, them. I'm honored to be here testifying again on county funding for the MoCo Pride Center. I'm here today also as the president of Maryland Trans Unity, an organization that provides peer-facilitated support groups and community building opportunities for Montgomery County's trans and non-binary adults. I'm also a co-founder of MoCo Pride Center, which is asking for basic supplemental funding to continue programs, but we also need full, generous, healthy funding and budget support for the entire Montgomery County Pride family. This additional funding from the county would help ensure appropriate staff, resources, and ultimately an adequate space to carry out programming, as well as provide a safe, welcoming gathering area for Montgomery County's LGBTQIA+ communities. MoCo Pride Center's priority for the months and years ahead is centering the voices and needs of the most marginalized queer and trans people. It was one of the reasons I co-founded the center, and I'm pleased that it is still a big part of its mission. You've just received some national and local statistics that describe the population of trans folks and the greater LGBTQIA+ community that the MoCo Pride Center wants to serve. You may be familiar with some of them. It is statistics like these, which end up overrepresenting white people and underrepresenting seniors, that demonstrate just how much work our county has to do to connect with the Black and brown queers and seniors that we know exist. Montgomery County's 2023 LGBTQ+ community survey also shows us that our county's queer and trans communities do not feel welcome in communities of faith or houses of worship. The statistics also show that we have a lot to do to protect trans and non-binary individuals in healthcare and police interactions. The community building that would occur through programming and a central space would help the trans and non-binary communities organize to improve these conditions. A centralized space that's not affiliated with a faith community, that's metro accessible, ADA compliant, and has all gender restrooms is absolutely essential in connecting these communities across Montgomery County. Ultimately, Maryland Trans Unity would benefit from an actual center with a physical space in a few ways: a free place to hold our support group meetings and social activities, a permanent address, which is not in a volunteer's home, and the ability to feel loved by and interact with cisgender members of our queer communities. The county as a whole would also benefit from a centralized place to locate queer and trans stakeholders, and local press would be able to find voices to represent the LGBTQIA+ community in Montgomery County. It's for these reasons that I ask for strong funding in the FY 2025 supplemental and overall budget for MoCo Pride Center, so that currently disparate organizations for the trans and queer communities in Montgomery County, like Maryland Trans Unity, have a centralized space for program building, including a physical space when appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Douglas Hill.
Thank you for the opportunity to address you today, Council. My name is Doug Hill, a MoCo resident for over 40 years, and I want to thank the Council so much for considering that MoCo Pride Family is supported for 2024 and is in the budget for 2025. The services provided by the organizations involved are essential to the MoCo community. As the father of 2 MCPS alums, I saw the importance of being an affirming voice in my children's lives. Some of their friends' parents weren't able to be affirming to their children for a variety of reasons. I know the barriers can be numerous for families when it comes to understanding and affirming your LGBTQIA+ child, but what really helped me was my eldest child came out as queer and later as transgender, and was able to ground myself in the values I was raised in. Those values of respect for differences, for a society that is strengthened by difference, and for ensuring that families can be kept together guided me, and my LGBTQ family has been affirming. For those who aren't there yet, the risks are great, both to the child and to the parents, and it can result in children becoming homeless and parents losing the relationship with their child, and even in losing their child to suicide. I take that seriously, and we have housed some of my children's friends when their parents abandoned them. The Council funding the MoCo Pride Center as a safe haven for LGBTQIA youth is a giant step forward. When I was considered testify today, I thought about reading headlines from newspapers to reinforce the state of the current attacks on the community, but then I realized I would be reintroducing that atmosphere here. It did not want to bring the opportunity for trauma, and I see that the staff report that you have that information. Not many dads feel comfortable or have the language for this discussion, but I implore the council and my fellow dads to get involved. The life you save could be your own child's. Please pass the supplemental appropriation for fiscal year 24 budget and support for 2025. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Reverend Dr. Jill McCrory. Just make sure you hit your button. We can hear you, but we want to make sure everybody watching and tuning in
After doing this for so
can
many
hear.
years, I would remember to push the button. My name is Reverend Jill McCrory. Many of you know me. I have been before you for many years, and today I'm testifying as a pastor, as an ally, but most of you know I'm also another co-founder of the center. But what you might not know is that the center was my doctoral project, and because of that, we had to conduct quite a lot of research. Back in 2017, when we did this research, we identified critical needs within the LGBTQ+ community that were not being addressed in our county. My dissertation states that our desire was to grow a dynamic center that would bring resources together to provide for those needs. According to CenterLink, which represents over 200 LGBTQ+ centers across the country, centers are primary change agents in the national movement working toward the liberation and empowerment of queer people. Through the services and activities of these community centers, over 2 million people are impacted annually. In the 7 years since its creation, the MoCo Pride Center has impacted the queer community in our county in a variety of ways. Center programs, partner programs, and the support of programs within what we call the Pride family have provided a great number of resources in the areas of social events, health screening, legislative efforts, speaking engagements, workshops, the Pride Prom, and of course, Pride in the Plaza. I'm reminded that 7 years ago, Jamie Raskin went to the Frederick Pride Festival and said, "Why can't we have one of those in our county?" I'm proud that that is part of what has been brought to fruition. However, these programs and projects could do so much more with additional funding. I know as an active pastor and ally that there's still so much need, and in many ways, this support is needed more now than in 2017. As a pastor and as an ally, I do not have the same things happening to me as our queer community. However, I will tell you that I've been personally accosted in my own church because we have a rainbow flag and signs that say that everyone's welcome. And so this hate goes far. It goes far and wide. So I'm asking you today to help make the vision of the whole Pride family a more solid reality in 2024. You can make an incredible impact through this funding, and you can help the Pride family increase the care for our LGBTQA+ community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Oju Ajagbe.
And I'm a newcomer, so let's see how I do. So I'm just going to read right what I have. Good afternoon, distinguished council members. My name is Oju Ajagbe, and I thank you for this opportunity to speak in favor of Supplemental Appropriation 2473 to the fiscal year 24 operating budget for Montgomery County, Maryland. Thank you also to my fellow testifiers here today. As a lifelong resident of Montgomery County, I appreciate the continued and growing diversity of the constituents within our borders. With increased diversity comes the need and importance for the creation of safe spaces to give all voices the opportunity to be heard, feel seen, plus included. In addition to being an active member of the community, personally serving as a notary public, U.S. Census 2020 enumerator, and Board of Elections election judge, I have had the wonderful opportunity to volunteer, participate, as well as attend numerous events hosted by Mr. Philip Alexander Downey, Living Your Truth, known as LIT, and the MoCo Pride Center. As an inaugural and recurring cast member of the original TV show Black Girl Magic Stories, I am thankful for how Mr. Downey works tirelessly to ensure important plus inclusive conversations affecting minority, marginalized, and disenfranchised populations, especially addressing the need for total health and wellness, have a visible platform. Black Girl Magic Stories was created by Mr. Downey to, quote, spotlight the stories, intergenerational perspectives, wisdom, hurdles, and triumphs that come with being a woman from across the African diaspora living in the U.S. who reside in Montgomery County. The importance of approving Supplemental Appropriation 2473 to the fiscal year 24 operating budget ensures that Black-owned Magic Stories, as well as the supporting events, in addition to the inclusive initiatives shared by my fellow testifiers here today, can continue to flourish due to having the funding to serve all minority, marginalized, and disenfranchised populations, especially addressing the important need for total health and wellness. As I have learned through my personal development work, quote, true unity is diversity and harmony. Funding this appropriation is one step in working toward increasing the harmony within the diversity of Montgomery County, Maryland. Thank you, distinguished council members, for your time.
Thank you for your time. Thank you to everybody for joining and sharing your perspective and your lived experience. That is all for this panel. We have one final speaker who has joined us on video, Greer Hamilton.
Hello. Good afternoon, council members. Thank you for this opportunity to join and testify. My name is Greer Hamilton, and I use they and them pronouns. I'm here as a trans and non-binary proud resident of Montgomery County, and also as a member of several organizations in the county that provide resources and services to the queer and trans community. I would have been there today. I've fallen ill, and I'm sipping my tea and honey as fast as I can. I urge the council to move forward with this supplemental funding request. This funding is crucial as a small part of the growth of the MoCo Pride Center so that the center can provide urgently needed services to the LGBTQ community. I came out as transgender and navigated transition, not in Montgomery County. I'm not a lifelong resident. I'm grateful to be here. The MoCo Pride Family Center of all of the various groups have welcomed me wholeheartedly. But I came out in a place that had a dedicated health center with comprehensive, culturally competent healthcare specifically for the LGBTQ community. Not only was there a dedicated health center for my community, there was also an organization that provided additional needed services to the LGBT community at little to no cost. These services included things like therapy, navigating housing, offering legal resources, hosting support groups, amongst many, many other services. And I want to be sure to hold up the incredible amount of work that has gone on here. Particularly, I know of the support groups, of the many things that the other lifelong residents have worked on for so very long and so hard. The queer and trans community of Montgomery County desperately need and deserve the same level of care that I was able to receive when I came out a number of years ago. In this day and age, when so much hatred and vitriol are directed specifically at me and my community, I wonder what it would be like to come out today here in Montgomery County as queer or trans. What would it be like to navigate social transition, to try to find healthcare that understands my needs as a trans person desperately in search of culturally competent care? Even today, as a resident of Montgomery County, I traveled to PG County to receive the health care that I need. I fear for our queer and trans children, for my queer and trans peers, and for our queer and trans elders. And while I know this fear will persist, I also have the deepest gratitude, respect, appreciation, and love for our queer trans children, my peers, and for our elders. Our resilience and determination deserve so much more than what Montgomery County has to offer right now. For Montgomery County to live up to our values, for Montgomery County to care for our LGBTQ children, teenagers, adults, and elders, the council must approve the supplemental funding request for the MoCo Pride Center. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. That is all the speakers that we have today. I see that Councilmember Glass would like to make a comment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say that I only wish there was an organization like MoCo Pride Center when I was growing up. And I know I speak for thousands of people throughout Montgomery County, but I just want to say thank you to everybody who testified today. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for bringing your true and authentic selves into the council chamber today.
Thank you. This public hearing is now closed.